Hello, Phil Conrad here, and this is the video for Team03, where we actually dive in. In the previous video, we explained the idea of the testing pyramid, the idea of integration and end-to-end tests and how they're different from unit tests. In this video, we're going to actually dive right in on the coding. So we want to be working in our Team02 repo, even though this is Team03. We're building on the Team02 code. And ideally, all of the pull requests for your database table will have already been merged into main. If you have not managed to get all of those code reviewed and merged, which does require help from your team members, then you can just build on the final branch for your last pull request from Team02. I'm going to actually build on main, so I'm going to get checkout main. I'm going to get pull origin main, and I'm going to, there's going to be two issues that we have in this video. The first one is going to be for our integration tests, and the second one's going to be for our end-to-end tests. And you will see that I've already gone into my Kanban board and made an issue for integration tests for commits. And I've made an issue for end-to-end tests for commits. Still working on the Team02 Kanban board. And the way you do that is you go over to your repo, go to the issues list, and just click on New Issue, and you fill in the title, fill in the description, click Submit New Issue. I'll do it again just to show you. This will create a duplicate since I've already done it, but if I had not already done it, I would be saying something like integration tests for commits table, write some integration tests for the commits table, click Submit New Issue, and then I can assign myself to the issue. And I can also put it on my project. Team02 F2400 is mine. And then once that is there on the project, you can see it says no status, but I can change that to do. And if I go to my Kanban board, I will see that I now have, if I type in pconrad here, I've got two of these, integration test for commits, and here's another one. This one I'm going to go ahead and close because it's a duplicate. I'll just say duplicate issue, close with comment, and then that will be done. And I can also just come over here and remove it. Actually, it's going to probably move it already over to done. But if I want to remove that from the Kanban board, I can. There it is right there, and I'll just say delete from project. So good. So here is the issue, integration tests for commits. And let's go back to our instructions. And once you've got your repo, you're going to begin by making a branch. So we'll do these commands first. We're going to get fetch starter. And that will update the starter code. And then we're going to get, actually, first of all, let's do get checkout -b, PC commits integration tests. And then let's do get, so then we're going to do get merge starter main. Oops, got two gets there. Get merge starter main. That's going to pull in some extra stuff from the starter code. You can see there's a merge conflict here. I don't think you're going to run into this particular merge conflict, but just in case you do, let's go ahead and show this particular merge conflict has to do with workflow 82. And in each case, we're going to take the incoming code. So here is this. We're going to accept the incoming change. We're going to accept the incoming change. We're going to accept further down here. Is there any more? There's one more. Yeah, we're going to accept the incoming change. And we're going to accept the incoming change. So now I'll do a get status. I can do a get add, get commit -m, PC, merge in the starter code again. and get push origin. And my branch name is PC commits integration tests. So again, we're just following along through the instructions here in the team03 assignment. We brought in the starter code and we pushed it to our branch. We already created the two new issues. And now we're going to understand how to run these tests. So there are two kinds of tests. The IT tests are integration tests that are going to look a whole lot like our controller tests, the unit tests we wrote for our controllers, except instead of mocking the database, we're going to actually use the real database tables. Web integration tests are going to use the Playwright framework to actually control a browser that interacts with our web application. So we will first do the integration tests, and we're first going to just run the existing ones. I'll come over here and do Maven clean first. And then integration true Maven test compile is something that will actually compile all of the test code just to make sure that it's all, that there are no syntax errors. And once that is done, then we can run the integration tests. So this will take just a moment to finish. This will be our next command, and that's going to run the integration tests. This takes a couple minutes. So I'm just going to let the video run so that we have an accurate idea of about how long this takes. It doesn't take hours, just a minute or two, but it does take some time because it has to go through building the entire front end code, loading all of doing a clean install of all the dependencies, and then building the entire React application. It doesn't do that for every test, but it does it once for the entire test run. So this time we're just making sure that everything compiles properly, and it did. So now integration equals true, Maven failsafe integration test. This first part is actually a environment variable, and it is used with the pom.xml code in the pom.xml to set up the environment that we use for integration testing. So this will run, and this time it's going to run through all of our tests. And some of these tests are integration tests where it's just going to run within the back end, and then others are full end-to-end tests where it will fire up a browser to run the tests. All right, so we've actually we've run all the tests, 8 tests run here, and it looks like they all passed. So we are ready to actually. There's a few more commands in here that show you how to run the like one test at a time, and also the headless equals false to run the test and actually see it in the browser. It goes by real fast, so you might miss it if you blank. But we're going to skip over those for now and just jump on down to working on the code. I will note that there's one typo here, UCSB Dining Commons menu item. It should say it.java, just like all the rest of them. Where you're going to use the examples in restaurant it.java and to build our integration test. So let's go ahead and do that now. Let's find in our code base restaurant it.java, and we'll see that it's here under source test integration restaurant IT. We're going to make a copy of it, rename it to commits it.java. And if we come into this file and look for restaurant, and I'm going to do that like this. This gives me a search that's independent of uppercase, lowercase. So I see here restaurant repository. I'm going to change all the capital restaurant repositories to capital commit repository. We'll change all of those. And then all caps restaurant, I'm going to change to commit. And again, I'm doing this with the caps on so that it doesn't change things that are lowercase. So this one, this is the variable restaurant repository. I'm going to change that to commit repository. And then lowercase restaurant, I'm going to change to lowercase commit. Now, that's not going to be everything we have to change, but that will get us off to a pretty good start. So we have an entity in a repository that should be changed to our database table. The name of the file needs to be changed, and I called it commits.it, so I'm going to call it commits.it here as well. So let's call that commits.it. And we have, instead of, you may remember that we used a mock repository when we were doing our unit test, but we're now using a real repository. So commit repository, this is a real database table. And our test here is a test that a logged in user can get by ID when the ID exists. This is going to be very similar to one of the tests we had in our controller tests, but this time, instead of mocking the database, we're really honest to goodness going to save it to the database. But we don't want to save I mean, this says commit, but this is not a commit. That's still a restaurant, Taco Bell. So let's go over. If we go to our commits controller tests, we should find a very similar test. This is testing that a login user can get by ID when the ID exists. And I think we have, here's logged out users cannot get by ID. Logged in users can get by ID when the ID does exist. And you'll see that this test, if we were to put these side by side, they are extraordinarily similar. The difference being that in one case, we're mocking the database. In the other case, we're using the real database. So just to see, we're going to want to, let's see, make sure I've got, there we go. So this is test that login user can get by ID when the ID exists. Test that login user can get by ID when the ID exists. In this case, though, we're using this when commit repository find by ID, then return, because this commit repository in our unit test is a mock bean. It's not a real repository. So we have to use these when clauses to tell it everything we're going to do with it and everything that it's going to give us back. Whereas in this case, we are going to actually save that to the database. So let me show you. We're going to take this commit, going to paste it in, and we're going to then save it in the database, commit repository.save commit one. So let's move this out of the way for the moment. Trying to find there it is, the dividing line. Okay, actually, let's just close the second window there. All right, so we can see this on the whole screen. So there's our commit. We're saving it. We're going to then try to get this commit by the ID. Now, when we save this commit, because the database is empty, we know it's going to get ID equals 1. So we can depend on that because the database is empty and the numbers always start at 1. And this variable is commit 1. So what this line of code does is gets the JSON representation of that. And we're going to assert that what we get back from this endpoint matches the JSON representation of this object. Now, one thing that might be slightly different is that when this comes back, it should have a 1 in it, and we did not put a 1 here when we built this object. So what we might want to do is come down here and say commit 1, there we go, dot set ID 1. And so then these should match when we get this back from the endpoint. So let's go ahead and comment out our second test, and then we'll check and make sure that this first test passes. So to do that, we'll come over here and we'll run our integration tests. Now we can save ourselves a little time by running only the tests that we care about. And that's over here in the instructions. This is the magic formula, -d it.test, and then we give it the name of the test. So -d it.test, instead of homepage web IT, we're going to do commits IT. And then let's run this and see what we get. Hopefully we get one passing test. And we do. So we're ready to uncomment our second test. So let's go in and uncomment this one. And here it is, an admin user can post a new commit. So this, again, this is not a commit. And this post, you can see name equals Chipotle, description equals Mexican. Those are not the correct post parameters for a commit. What we want to do again is come over to our commits controller, find the post test, and let's find a test where we can post. Here we go. An admin user can post a new commit. We will take this again, like we did before, and we'll put that in. And we're not going to save it to the database because the posting is what should save it to the database. We will take this, which is the post parameters that match this particular commit, and we will add those onto the end of our post. And we post that to commits. And then again, we're going to want to take this. And in this case, we're only using this. And that's exactly what we want with that ID 1L, because this should come back, this commit should come back with an ID of 1, because it's the very first thing stored in the database. So we're going to expect that that's the JSON we get back. So let's run these again. We should get 2 tests passing this time. But we got a failure. We got status expected 200, but was 400. So why is that? Let's see. Said 200, but was 400. So if we scroll up here and see what went wrong, what we are looking for is 400 typically indicates that something, here we go. Required request parameter message is not present. Required, oh, I see the problem. I've got 2 question marks right there. So it thinks that my first parameter is question mark message instead of message. So let's fix that and we'll try it again. And hopefully this time we get 2 passing tests. All right, and we do. Now, if we wanted to do a more thorough job, we could basically take pretty much any or all of the controller tests, and we could turn them into integration tests. We're not going to do that right now because the purpose of this exercise is just to introduce the idea of integration tests, but we might very well do that when we move into our legacy code project. We may add some integration tests, particularly if we run into cases where we find that there are bugs in the integration between the front end and the back end, or the integration with the database. These tests will help us catch those kinds of errors. That's it, though, for, well, I mean, I guess we can do a pull request. So let's go ahead and do a get status. Oops, sorry. Get status. One more time. Get status. There we go. We'll do a get add. We'll do a get commit. Actually, get status. Always do a get status after a get add dot. Get commit minus MPC add integration tests for commits controller endpoints, and get push origin PC commits integration tests. And we will open a pull request. I think we will need to go back to our repo for that. So GitHub, team02, and commits integration test. That's the one we want. In this PR, we add 2 integration tests for the commits table. This is part of the team03 assignment. Okay, draft pull request. Probably don't need that to be a draft pull request. I think we can mark this as ready for review. We'll take a look at it ourselves, and we'll see that, oops, I don't know why that just happened. Yeah, my browser's going all haywire. All right, let's just close that again, open. I want team02. Why? I don't know why that happened. Anyway, all right, browser's back to the normal magnification. Our pull request, integration test, files changed. You can see that in this case, there were some changes to workflow 82 when we pulled in the starter code. And there were also some changes to the pom.xml when we pulled in the starter code. And those are some changes that are needed just to get things up to the right version so that our team03 goes smoothly. And then here's our commits, our integration test file. So that looks pretty good. I think we can ask for code reviews, and we can also link our issue. So let's see, this is our pull request. Our issue is integration test is 118. So on the pull request, we will say closes number 118. Oops, number 118. And save. Make sure that is, yep, integration tests for commits. And we can drag this to in review and drag that one to in progress. And since we already have dealt with the pulling in of the starter code and the merge conflicts that resulted, I think I'm going to build off of this branch so I don't have to go through that again. So get checkout -b PC commits E2E tests. And that branch will be ready for our next video when we will finish off team03. All right, see you then.